Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our channel and welcome back to Prediction Markets are winning as sports betting cracks. The prediction markets are capturing the betting economy at the precise moment its regulatory and integrity foundations are beginning to crack. The market is treating these as two stories. They are actually one. And let's delve deeper into why we are saying that. Now, Barron's recently did an extensive piece on the prediction markets, the World Cup, and the betting economy. The 2026 World Cup is engineered to be the largest wagering event in history, an estimated 50 billion across 48 teams, 104 matches, and 39 days. With Sport Trader projecting that roughly 9 in 10 Americans betting on the tournament will be doing so on a World Cup for the first time. This is the headline. It's also a distraction. Beneath the volume surge, the US betting complex is being repriced by two forces that arise together. A federally regulated competitor that routes across the entire state architecture, and an integrity crisis that is fluidly withdrawing the social license the category was built on. Now, Barron's recent survey of the industry catalogs the symptoms. The diagnosis and the allocation rate is ours. Let's first start with the thesis. Capital is flying towards the one venue that sits outside the straight up and is most exposed to a legitimacy shock. And the Tupali drawdown is not cyclical handle dip, but the early repricing of a category whose regulatory and reputational underwriting is thinning. Starting with the structural arbitrage out here, Kalshi and Polymarket do not compete with FanDuel and DraftKings on the same regulatory terrain. That is the entire point out here. Their federally regulated event contracts closely resemble sports bet but are exempt from state taxes and available nationwide to anyone over 18, bypassing the state-by-state legislation patchwork that has defined the sportsbook era. The arbitrage is most visible where traditional books cannot legally operate. Texas and California hold roughly 22% of US population but accounted for nearly 43% of Kalshi's domestic sports volume in the first quarter. With 4 US World Cup host cities, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Dallas, and Houston, sitting in those two states, prediction markets are the only legal venue in town for local bettors this summer. The valuation signal is the part the allocators should not wave away. Pre-IPO marks on these platforms already eclipse the current market capitalization of both Flutter and the DraftKings. The private market is not pricing a niche, it's pricing a regime change. The discipline is in the counter evidence. In the states that developed online sportsbook, Hershey won roughly 2% on the handle in the first quarter. And Flutter's Peter Jackson points to Arkansas, wherein FanDuel signed up almost 5% of the adult population within weeks of launch, despite Kalshi's months-long head start. Read correctly, the prediction markets are today a greenfield capture machine, formidable when betting is banned and merely present when it competes head-to-head. The institutional question out here is whether that distinction survives the regulatory shock, and the shock is already forming on the other side of the trade. And this brings us to the integrity fault line that we were talking about. Now, this is a load-bearing risk for the entire complex, and it does not respect the line between sportsbook and prediction market. On top of this, the public conviction has also turned. A recent Morning Consult poll found that half of Americans believe professional athletes at least sometimes alter their play to help the gamblers win. The baseline cynicism is not new. What is new is the betting infrastructure that now monetizes and amplifies that suspicion in real time. And then there is the capitulation trade. The Dupolis response, launching their own prediction markets, is positioned as an opportunity, but it reads as defense and is dilutive at exactly the wrong moment. In the American Gaming Association survey, 81% of the gaming executives call prediction markets a very significant threat to the regulated industry. And the tape also agrees. Flutter is down 53% to date and DraftKings down 27%, with round and sports betting and iGaming ETF of 25% from its 12-month high. Wall Street for now remains largely long. Most analysts covering Flutter and DraftKings hold buy ratings with average targets well above the current prices. The lone DraftKings sell call from BNP Paribas leans on exactly the thesis about less supportive political sentiment, the risk of higher taxes, and multiples that still look stretched even after 65% decline from the historical peak. The bull case and the structural case are not arguing about the same time horizon out here. When we talk about the allocator rate, the mispricing is not inside either stock in isolation. It is in the market's habit of filing prediction markets and sports integrity risk as two separate stories when they are the same one. The social and regulatory license underwriting the entire category is thinning, And capital is migrating to the venue, the federally regulated state tax exempt prediction market that sits furthest from the apparatus most exposed to that erosion. Kalshi is therefore the cleanest expression of the structural thesis. It is also the most fragile because the entire edge rests on regulatory exemption that is now the explicit subject of House oversight investigation into insider trading on event contracts. The trade and its single largest risk are the same regulatory line out here. Let's wrap up the video with the positioning frame. Now, trade the Dupolis 53% and 27% drawdowns as legitimacy referencing and not a sentiment blip dressed as value. The integrity overhang is a structural multiple compressor out here, and it does not mean revert on a good World Cup. Express the structural view through the venue that benefits from the erosion rather than the incumbents fighting it, while sizing the reality that the same regulatory ruling underwrites the upside as well as the lowering. Essentially, what we're trying to say is that when the house itself starts folding its hand, the signal is in the fold and not the felt. Now, that's all that we have for you in this brief update on prediction markets and sports betting. But we are sure that there will be more updates as the World Cup rolls on. Stay tuned then for those updates.